from the flight deck. This is the Plane Jockeys podcast, where we dig into some of the stories and personalities you've seen on Airline Videos live. Our estimated time en route is, well, however long these guys want to chat. Now sit back and relax and enjoy the show. It's a lot more fun than reading the safety card. I promise.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Airline Videos Live Plane Jockeys podcast. I am Plane Jockey Kevin, joined once again here today by fellow Plane Jockey Rudy.
Hello, everybody. So good to be back on the Plane Jockeys podcast.
And we are outside the famous In-N-Out Burger outside of LAX once again as the planes fly over our head. We seem to like that, I guess, Rudy, huh?
Oh, yes. And I even had a burger just a little while ago.
Very nice.
So good.
Very nice. Well, not only just us here today, but my gosh, special guest Jeb Brooks. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me. I am just having a fan moment here. This is so amazing to be with you guys in this. I mean, I think we can only call it hallowed ground for aviation enthusiasts. This is such a special place with some special people excited to share some aviation enthusiasm right here, right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, just as we were setting up here today, we had a couple of fans coming up, and they walked out of here saying, "Oh my gosh, this absolutely made my day."
It's true. That was very exciting. It's always fun to engage with people who are in this community.
Yeah.
We love aviation. It just brings people together in such amazing ways, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. I agree 100%. And I have to say, I'm a little starstruck myself. So good to have you here today. What a special treat.
Well, it's a good thing we're outside. My head is getting so big, I'm not sure I can walk back.
Some nice weather out here in Los Angeles. You just got here today.
Perfect timing. I mean, it's always beautiful here. At least it's always beautiful on the live streams.
Yes,
I know that's
absolutely.
true. So it's nice to be here in person. It's a beautiful day.
And of course, the planes flying over your head here. I mean, nothing better, right? You got the sunshine, you got a nice cool breeze, you got the planes flying over your head.
It's just perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and ask for forgiveness from the listeners if I get distracted by those planes flying over.
That's all right. No worries.
That's okay. We understand.
So, Jeb, maybe there's some people listening to this and may not know exactly who you are. Can you tell us?
Yeah, I'd love to. So my name is Jeb Brooks. Many of you know me as Jeb Brooks from greenergrass.com. I make videos on YouTube really about going from one place to another. Most of them are about aviation, about flights, typically looking at, all kinds of flights all over the world, and getting to share those experiences with my viewers. And recently discovering all kinds of new forms of transportation, making videos about trains and even buses. Yeah. So really any kind of means to get from one place to another.
There's your first
including, but not limited to, Southwest Airlines.
Yes. Planes, trains, and automobiles?
100%.
Yes.
Even boats.
How did this all come to be?
So I traveled a lot for work. I was working in consulting, and I cut the cable cord a long time ago. And in terms of my own entertainment, I watched YouTube. And I discovered a handful of people 5 or 6 years ago who were making these kinds of videos. And I realized, well, I'm flying around a lot, and why not give it a go? And I noticed that there was a hole in the in what was being covered. Nobody had made a video about Air France La Premiere, their first class, in the A380.
Oh.
And I had a project in Portugal, and I found a flight on the Air France A380 from Washington Dulles over to Paris, and I booked it. And I made this video, and I'll never forget this moment. I smashed it together in a really rough shod way, and I was sitting in my hotel room watching the views go up. And I was like, this is really kind of amazing. That there are people all over the world now who are seeing my experience on this one flight. So I just started doing it as sort of I was traveling for work. And over the next several years, it kind of took on a life of its own and has turned into a full-time business, really, of creating this content every week to share with the audience.
So that was your first video. That was, what, 5 years ago?
Would have been about 5 years ago now. Yeah, that's right.
5 years ago. So how many videos between that video and to the point where you were like, okay, this is going to change my life forever?
Well, I mean, I was on the way, and then 2020 kind of changed things. That made it a whole new world.
Yeah.
Which actually, I can recall a moment. It was the time I came here to this park right here at this In-N-Out Burger in January of 2020, and I'll never forget. Right over there were some reporters doing a story about this new virus that seemed to be emerging and what this was going to mean, and that really put a damper on our ability to produce content. For obvious and understandable reasons. But I would say really things took off, pun intended.
Another Southwest 737.
Just digging this, man. Took off in sort of 2021. Okay. And we really have just hit a stride and are having an absolute blast and growing the channel and connecting with other folks who also share a passion for aviation and travel.
And you are flying everywhere. I mean, everywhere, right? I mean, everywhere.
Yeah, we like to keep going, and if there's an interesting route or an interesting destination or some interesting way that an airline or some other transportation company is delivering a service, I want to see it. I want to experience it. I want to share it with other people who have that same interest.
That's great. And I'm curious to know how you pick your destinations.
It totally depends. I mean, so for example, last week or 2 weekends ago, American Airlines out of Philadelphia is serving 3 cities with buses now. So you fly into Philadelphia and you walk over to gate F8 expecting to see your CRJ or Embraer regional jet, but no, it's a Prevost bus parked at the gate. And so we wanted to try that experience, and so that got us to Atlantic City, New Jersey. But then Suzanne, my wife, who does all the planning, was looking around. Well, where do you go from Atlantic City? Well, the only airline that serves Atlantic City with airplanes is Spirit. So we flew from Atlantic City to Myrtle Beach. So how do we pick the destinations? Rudy, sometimes the destinations pick us.
Oh, got it. Yes, I recently did watch your most recent video about you talking about Spirit Airlines. What was that like to put that together?
Spirit, I like Spirit. I think it's one of those airlines that people love to hate. So maybe 3 years ago, we did a series called the Low Cost Carrier Comparison, and I flew Allegiant, Frontier, and Spirit back to back.
Oh,
and learned that. I don't know how anybody does anything around here.
It's really okay. If you need to look up, everyone does it.
Literally.
It's like a natural thing.
Every time we've had a plane fly over, it's, thus far, Jeb's jaw is just to the floor.
So I'm always interested in how airlines specifically deliver an experience, because at the end of the day, the promise is I'm going to get you from one place to another. That's if you read the contracts of carriage, which I recommend you don't, that's really all you're getting promised.
Yeah.
You may not get there when you expect to get there. You may not get there the day you expect to get there, but you're going to get there. And so what are ways that airlines try to differentiate themselves? And Spirit has this reputation of being this ultra low-cost carrier, which in fact they are.
Right.
But they've got that big front seat, which, instead of the 3-3 configured cabin with the slimline seats, they're bigger, sort of traditional U.S. domestic first-class seats that are a little bit more padded, a little bigger and arranged in a 2-2 pattern. But, there are other ways that you can elevate that Spirit Airlines experience, and we wanted to try that to see if it really was as special as a traditional U.S. domestic first-class experience.
And?
We tried really hard.
You tried.
You did your best.
Yeah, I mean, recently Rudy took Spirit. You took one of those big seats too.
I
to
did.
Boston, didn't you?
Yes, because I actually won tickets through the Cranky Dork Fest giveaway.
Which happened right here.
Yeah. Yes, and it happened right here. So it was 2 round trip tickets. So I took my mom. We flew out to Boston. And I said, why not upgrade? I mean, the tickets are free. And of course, I had to pay for the upgrade. But it was well worth it. Very comfy. And of course, you're towards the front. And as a nav geek, one of my favorite parts is you can actually hear some of the sounds from the cockpit. You're so close forward, on the airplane.
You can hear those the outer marker, the middle marker. Yeah, I do like that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And they are really comfortable seats. Suzanne in that video, my wife said that it felt like your grandmother's leather chair because it really
Yes,
is soft.
totally.
Yeah, it really is a soft seat.
Jeb, since we're talking about Spirit and the potential merger with JetBlue, I mean, all signs say it's probably going to happen. I mean, do you feel like Spirit is really going to, or JetBlue is really going to take on the kind of Spirit business model, or maybe bits and pieces? You know, I guess it's all up in the air at this point, right?
That's a great question, and I think one of the most enjoyable things about this, I almost call it a hobby, but I think we can all agree for us it's more than a hobby. It's a lifestyle. It's a passion. It's it's an ethos. Is speculating about these kinds of things, and I like to look back in the rearview mirror and think about, you know, what could have been. But I don't know. I think that there are people who are a lot smarter than me who are working on that issue. But I certainly hope JetBlue doesn't lose its cachet.
Yeah.
It's got such a cool culture that really comes across, particularly in the in-cabin experience. I would hate for that to be lost.
Yeah, and you're also a fan of the bright yellow Spirit livery.
I'm sorry, it's like a Pavlov's dog. When I see that thing, I've got to take a picture. It's just such a good-looking airplane.
Yeah.
I was so surprised to hear that, and my apologies because I've talked about that livery on our show, and I'm not a fan. So
this is what I love about another thing I love about this pod. People have such strong feelings about the way that these planes look, and I think it's so cool to get into. I remember as a kid growing up talking back and forth about which United livery was best and all this. I love it. I love it.
I mean, on all your travels, if we have another plane flying over our heads.
Alaska Airlines 737.
Your favorite airplane to fly on?
Airbus A350. So from a passenger experience standpoint, it's just spectacular. And I know that there are people who have strong feelings about the way that planes look, and that's certainly very valid.
Right.
Just from the way that I sleep on a plane, there's nothing better than A350. I think the Dreamliner's a really great airplane, but I think the windows were amiss. It either never gets bright enough or it never gets dark enough. And then I'm just an A350 fan all through and through.
Now, how many have you flown on? I mean, it's same airline, or I've flown on the Delta A350, and I would assume you've been on many other A350s. I'm just wondering if you kind of feel differently on certain airlines with their cabin experience.
So that's a great question, and I can remember I flew on the inaugural Delta A350 flight from Detroit to Tokyo Narita, which would have been in October 2017, maybe.
Okay.
In any event, that was my first A350 flight. Let's see, that's a great one. But then like Lufthansa, so it's a great airplane, but they use their traditional business class seating, which is 222. So you're climbing over somebody to get out if you're at the window. Right. So that's not great. Any A350. I mean, look. You're on a wide-body, long-haul flight. I mean, come on.
No, I agree with you. No, the A350 is my favorite at this point. I'm flying on a Dreamliner next week. It'll be my first one, so I'll have to report, about that.
But, your first Dreamliner.
Yes,
Whoa.
believe it or not.
Where are you going?
Just to Dallas.
Oh, that's
not too far.
That's great.
Not too far. But I mean, you're in airports, you're in planes, you're in buses, you're in trains. With that camera rolling all the time, do you get, people wondering, what are you up to? What are you doing?
You know what is so funny about that? That is one of the things that held me back from doing it for a long time. Mm-hmm. And do you know that there is only one time that somebody's asked me what I'm doing?
Really?
Only one time. I was flying with American Airlines from Phoenix. Hello, another Southwest 737. From Phoenix into Washington National Airport. And the flight attendant just saw me like filming out the window and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" She was just kind of interested. And I said, "Yeah, I'm just making a little video." That's the only time somebody's ever approached me about it.
Well, I was going to ask, what were you doing that caused the flight attendant to ask?
I think she was just bored, to be honest. I think she was just curious. Yeah, but it's. I think it's. I have a theory about travel, particularly in airports. Mm-hmm. I think people are so internally focused when they're traveling through airports, they tend not to pay attention to much else. They're so focused on getting where they're going, not missing their flight, making the connection, doing whatever they're doing. They tend not to be externally focused.
Right.
That's a good point. Very good point. Airports are just amazing, right? I mean, it's just, you either love it or you hate it.
I'm a solid lover of the airports. I think I've always been an airplane fan, but I've created a kind of an infrequent series called Airports Revealed, where I go behind the scenes at airports around the world and kind of talk about really the many airport professionals who make these things run.
Yeah.
Talking about jobs and career fields for young people.
Right.
And what has really amazed me is just how amazing airports are. And let's face it, airplanes don't fly without airports.
That's true. It's a must.
That is a 747.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, the Cathay Pacific Cargo 747 is kind of making that run over LAX as she will head to the south side for an arrival on 25 left. See, and no matter which way you look, there's a plane in the sky. So much to see here at LAX.
And you're used to it. My home is in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is a great place. I love Greensboro, North Carolina, but our airport is not quite as exciting as yours.
Well, I mean, how often are you really there? It sounds like you guys are basically on the road, on the bus, on the train all the time, right?
We do keep moving. That's true.
I mean, how many days out of the year are you basically on the move?
Gosh, I don't know. I'll look. I think that there's a pretty good chance. This is not an answer to your question, but it's something I'm pretty excited about. I think I'm going to get top tier status in all 3 major U.S. airlines this year.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That's impressive.
It's unbelievable.
That's a whole different level there.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Now, I'm really curious. You've mentioned that on your channel you show the airplanes, you show the trains, the buses. Do you consider yourself more of a plane spotter, a rail fanner, as they call it, or do we call it bus spotters?
I would say that I am first and foremost always aviation. I think there's just this miracle to me. I mean, think about it. How many other situations are there where you walk through a door, sit down for a few hours, and then walk out the same door in a completely different world? Like, that doesn't happen anywhere else.
I never thought of it that way. Wow.
Yeah, that's deep right there. I have
very deep.
Never thought of it that way either.
But I love it.
Yeah.
It's romantic. I mean, you guys are watching all of these planes come and go here, and think about the stories that are every one of those people on every one of those planes has a story. And just the miracle that is. And the professionals who work all over this campus, above it, below it, in it, around it, who dedicate their professional careers to making that happen is just incredible to me.
Oh, yes.
Aviation first and foremost.
Oh, we've had plenty of on the show. Oh, it's just a Delta connection. We've had Stig Aviation. He's a mechanic for American Airlines. It's fascinating to hear what goes on. With that, we've had a flight dispatcher on the show. I mean, you're right. There's just so many people behind the scenes, and you do that with Airports Revealed on your YouTube channel. Is you take the opportunity to kind of showcase that, right?
Exactly. And what I think I want to help people do, and I know you are doing this as well, particularly for my viewers who are younger, who may be thinking about careers in aviation. I want to share some of those careers that aren't just pilots or flight attendants, just the people that we tend to see when we're traveling. But there's so many folks who are working behind the scenes that I want to highlight those careers.
So you have a lot of videos on your YouTube channel through the course of the year, and we were talking about one of your biggest hits on your YouTube channel, not aviation related. What was it?
It was a bus.
A bus.
The number one video. So, sort of a work trip for me will be, Suzanne will plan, a series of trips to head out and make a handful of videos. And one of those at the tail end of last year was I flew to Miami to pick up a train to West Palm Beach, then flew up to D.C. to take a bus to New York. And this bus is called the Jet Bus. And we made this video just basically, I didn't think it was going to get any views at all. It was just like, I didn't put as much time in editing it as I usually would. It was just like, we've got it. We publish every week, and some, like everybody, I sometimes put more work and sometimes put less. But this video got to 1 million views in like 3 or 4 days. It's the most viewed video on our channel, and it shows that YouTube is and you never know. You just never know.
Based on the comments, can you kind of figure out maybe why this kind of took off? Were people kind of interested? I guess jet bus, you don't hear that every day. Maybe that kind of caught people by surprise.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think people were thrown by that. There's, the channel is aviation focused, so
Right.
okay, you sort of get a baseline there. But the other thing is it's a first class bus, which is a relatively common concept in a lot of corners of the planet, Asia or South America, but really doesn't exist here. And so I think anytime you've got you're putting a video out there that sparks a little bit of curiosity in people, that can tend to be pretty interesting. And so they'll click on it, and then YouTube rewards those videos, and they just kind of blossom.
Interesting.
Yeah, incredible. I haven't seen that video myself. I'm going to have to go check it out because now I feel like I'm missing out.
Well, it's quite an adventure. And I'll tell you, it's a really cool service. It's a super convenient way, super comfortable way to get between DC and New York. And there's a lot of competition on that route.
Interesting. I had no idea. See, I mean, these are the things that you're highlighting that people would have had no idea. I mean, the American airline bus. Now, back to that, because you were talking about that. Is that just a temporary thing, or is that something new that they're just basically going to...
No, I think it could be a view to the future. United does the same thing out of Denver to, I think, maybe Breckenridge. And I think, here comes our favorite, Rudy, a little Spirit action.
Oh, there you go. Spirit A320 flying over us.
Some big front seats there. What a lot of airlines, of course, are facing are pilot shortages.
Right.
There just aren't enough pilots. And so if you look at these shorter routes, out of hubs into these smaller communities, 35 passenger bus motor coach can make a lot of sense. And I kind of walked away from it impressed. As much as I love aviation, and I do, I always want to be on an airplane over anything else. I think that it could open up, newer markets that aren't accessible by plane, in a way that could be pretty cool.
But I mean, I would assume there's some people that are like, I'm not getting on that bus. Like, why are you giving me a bus? I want an airplane.
It almost sounds inconvenient in some sort of sense, but
kind of going backwards in time a little bit.
There were a few passengers when we were getting ready to board who were surprised to see that it was not. It was a bus, not an Airbus. It was a bus.
Yeah. Wow. And how did they feel when they were getting off the bus? So did they kind of like, okay, this wasn't too bad, I guess?
Everybody just sort of scurried away.
Yeah.
I think they had plans in Atlantic City. I didn't ask questions.
Right. I mean, you are a full-time YouTuber. I mean, you and your wife basically do everything. I mean, you are editing these videos, you're traveling, you're shooting. I mean, that's a lot of work.
It is absolutely incredible. Kevin, I cannot believe I wake up every morning and pinch myself. How has this happened? And I think it's happened because, I have a real passion about this. I think we got a Delta 767 coming in.
Boy. She's going to be loud.
Little JFK action here.
Oh, yeah. There she comes.
What
Probably pushing about 30, 31 years of age with that.
Yeah, well, it's not the only one.
So, I mean, so you pinch yourself every morning about being a YouTuber. It just feels unreal to you?
It feels incredible. I mean, I get to share my enthusiasm, my creativity with the world. And, every week we put out a new video and there's, a chance that 10 people watch it. And that's cool. There's a chance that 1 million people watch it. And that's kind of cooler. But it's still amazing that this platform has allowed folks like the three of us to share our what we love with the world. And I think, growing up, I was always into aviation, but there really weren't other people around me who were. And I think what these social media platforms have enabled is a sense of community across place, where if I was a kid growing up in Greensboro, North Carolina now, I could watch your videos, your streams, and get a sense of community that otherwise wouldn't be possible. And I think that's a fantastic element when it comes to social media.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. We just had Cranky Dork Fest a couple weekends ago, and we experienced firsthand just what you mentioned. being able to have everybody who is passionate about aviation come together and, meet because we have that common passion for aviation. I mean, that's key.
Yes, I mean, there was no better place than right here across from the In-N-Out Burger as the planes fly over our head. Do you come to LA often?
I do, actually. I was just thinking about that. There's so many important routes that either start or end here. I mean, the sort of New York to LA piece is so competitive. I've made that trip more times than I can count. And then just recently I flew with Finnair. I've always wanted to travel to Europe from the West Coast because a flight from the East Coast to Europe is kind of a challenging distance. It's not really long enough to enjoy.
Right.
So I did that, and it was like it changed my world because I got to eat a nice dinner, get a full night of sleep, wake up and be ready to go. It was great. I do come out to LA a fair amount.
So when was that trip on Finnair? That was...
it was this year, maybe there was snow on the ground in Helsinki, so it was probably June. No, I'm kidding. It was probably March or April.
All right. So you were there for what? Maybe less than a week? Fly there, fly back, and then you come back. You got all your footage. You got to log everything. Is your script involved? I mean, tell us about how you create one of your videos from the start to the end. Yeah,
no, that's great. Well, I mean, the start is a solid plan, which is really Suzanne's expertise of putting together trips that maximize content and thinking through details. I went to law school and did not last very long because I've got an eye for details that just doesn't exist. I can't even see them. Anyway, so I go on the trip, film as much as I can. So that trip I took the Texas Eagle, Amtrak's longest route from Chicago out to LA via San Antonio.
Wow.
It was a long trip. Hopped on the Finnair flight. Then I flew to Belfast to take a train down to Dublin. And unfortunately, the weather was so bad that I had to throw that away, which was a real bummer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And then flew back with Aer Lingus. And so that was 3 or 4 videos. And then I start editing the videos. And for me, what that is I use Final Cut Pro. And I really wish I didn't. I wish I'd started with Adobe Premiere, but I don't have time to learn the new one right now.
Yeah.
And then I do script. So most of my videos are driven by voiceover.
Oh, right.
And so I script that, and then I put that together and publish it out. So I don't have like an editor to help me. I don't have a script writer. It really is just the two of us.
Well, I feel tired just listening to that. I mean, we're talking about, I sit there for 10, 12 hours standing in one place on a Sunday. I'm tired. But I mean, traveling to Europe and back and going on trains and this and that, and then you got to come back and you got to edit everything. Is there ever like any burnout from all that travel?
Every now and then I'll be like, I think it's time to take a week off.
Yeah.
And I will. And I think that's important. I think that, you can be so focused. I can be so focused on, we got to publish another video. It's got to do this and it's got to have these results. It's easy to lose the reason that I'm making the content. Like,
right.
I think that it's especially in something that's so metrics driven, as YouTube is, as
right.
you know.
Right.
It's important to remember why you're doing it. And I think you've got to give yourself the opportunity to do that.
Right.
And that's about taking breaks to avoid burnout.
All right, Jeb, well, this is absolutely amazing stuff. Oh, are you having fun here, Rudy? Rudy's just looking at the planes up in the sky.
I'm so distracted. There's a plane flying over.
All right, so we'll come back with more. Don't go anywhere on the Airline Videos Live Plane Jockeys.
Folks, again from the flight deck, we hope you're enjoying those luxurious seats and plentiful complimentary beverages. Oh, right, it's a podcast. Well, then we hope you're enjoying the banter. Stay tuned for more.
Oh, yes, there's always more to the story. Isn't that right, Rudy?
I thought you were going to start singing there for a second.
Well, don't get me started. Jeb, I asked you come to LA often. What do you think of our little airport over here, LAX?
I am so excited for when the construction, I guess it's never going to end, but maybe when it takes a dip down.
Yeah.
LA is like a lot of great airports in the United States, and it's getting a rebirth, and I think that's very exciting. There's always I always feel a sense of excitement and almost anticipation on an approach in LA because it's such a special place. It's so iconic.
Right.
And so I'm excited every time I land because it looks a little bit different.
Do you always fly on different airlines every time you come?
Yeah. So it totally depends on schedules and what we're doing and whether there's a video or we flew Delta from Atlanta today, 757. Which was a beautiful flight. So it was exciting to see some of the new construction in process there with everything Delta's doing.
Yeah, big plans. I mean, they just announced they're going to open up 9 more gates in the new Terminal 3 later this month in October of 2022. So it's just, it's amazing. And of course, this is all geared toward the Olympics coming in 2028. So hopefully they get it all done by then.
Yes.
Let's go back to being a YouTuber. I think there's a lot of people that are probably listening to this and kind of fascinated by, what I do, what you do. I mean, you've got 475,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's pretty big.
Well, it's and I'm grateful to every single one who clicked that subscribe button. It's again, I think I said this earlier. I pinch myself every morning. I can't believe this. I can't believe it.
What are you going to do for your 500,000 subscriber? Are you going to have a party?
Oh, maybe we should.
Yes.
Right here.
Yes.
Right here at the In-N-Out Burger.
Maybe we'll hit it together. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. I think you're on a faster trajectory.
Well, I don't know, Jeb. I don't know.
I was going to suggest the same, but I didn't want to get in trouble there because I don't know if that would be awesome. That would make it a big party.
Yes. I mean, describe, there's probably a lot of people that, that want to do this for a living. Can you honestly tell them, yes, you can? I mean, earlier we had a pilot, a general aviation pilot, who said he came up there and he was just blown away that he saw you and I, but he was like, I wanted to do a YouTube channel, but he was kind of like, no one's going to care. No one's, whatever. What do you say to people like that?
Yeah,
we have heavy. Is this Hawaiian?
8330?
No. Qantas.
Oh, Qantas?
Wow. Oh, Qantas.
Flight 15 coming in from Brisbane.
Oh, well.
And look at that sunset.
That's just perfect, and just what a nice, solid little glimpse. We'll be heading down under in November for the first time in a while. So excited to get back down. We're coming back with we're flying with this is Air New Zealand. We are flying on the 4th longest flight in the world from JFK to Auckland, hopefully.
Oh wow.
That one's had a little trouble.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you earlier because I finally had the opportunity to fly to Europe this past summer, and I dealt with the reality of jet lag, and boy, I didn't handle it very well. So I'm curious to know if you have any tips. I know we had a question earlier about YouTube, but
this is pressing. This is pressing.
Yes.
So we're going to come back to YouTube. I have a weird philosophy on jet lag that many people would tell me is flawed, false, wrong, whatever. And that's fine. I think that what jet lag really is not getting enough sleep in a 24-hour period. And so, to me, I need, 8 hours of sleep or whatever it is. And so as long as I can find ways to get that, it helps out. But the ultimate hack, Rudy, I just discovered.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a morning flight from the East Coast to Europe. So when I did that Virgin Atlantic versus British Airways video, my Virgin Atlantic flight was JFK leaving at 8:30 in the morning, got into London about 7 o'clock at night, have dinner, go to bed, wake up. It was perfect. I mean, I wish we had more morning flights to Europe, but alas.
Interesting.
yes.
So back to that question about whether people can be full-time YouTubers. I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But I think there's some criteria.
Yeah.
Number one, you've got to publish consistently.
Right.
And
feed the algorithm beast.
Feed the algorithm beast. Yeah, that's it. You've got to publish consistently. And so for us, we publish just about every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern. There's a new video on the channel. And I think some of that is the algorithm, and then also some of it is just human behavior. People learn that, there's going to be a new video at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I really like this guy, and let's go back and see it. And they get used to it, right?
Right.
It's like, television sitcoms are 7 o'clock every Monday night or whatever. It's just a human behavior thing. And then number two, you've got to publish content that you enjoy watching.
Right.
Because if you, as long as you do that, then, it's easier to make it consistent. And if you enjoy watching it, you'll build a community of like-minded people who share that same enthusiasm, whatever it is, whether it's knitting or gaming or aviation, whatever it is. And then the third thing, and I think this is the most important, and it's so hard, this is one that people get wrong, and it's about being authentic. It's so appealing if you see somebody who's having success to try to mimic them.
Right.
But the answer is another Southwest 737. And talk about the perfect metaphor. Southwest is a completely unique experience. Everything about Southwest is distinctive. They're not trying to be American Airlines. They're not trying to be, JetBlue or Spirit. They're who they are. And I think if you're going to create content on YouTube, you have to embrace your personality and lean into it and be yourself. Don't try to mimic anybody. Just be yourself.
Well, I was going to ask you, going back, that you want to watch content that you want to watch. Do you watch some of your stuff and go, before you release it, and really harden yourself and go, oh no, that edit's not going to work. We got to type out a new script for that, or those type of things. Do you start screaming at the TV?
Well, I have two great critics when it comes to content before we publish it. Number one is myself, and if I find myself getting bored with something, I'll be like, this is bad. But the better critic is Suzanne. So she'll watch these videos and be like, no, this is terrible.
Yeah.
You missed this, or you got to do this. Or it's great. It's invaluable.
Yeah.
Because without that second set of eyes, I think this is great. No, we need to be a little more critical.
Right.
So
No,
I
great.
think that's key.
No, that is absolutely key. Absolutely. I mean, I always run things by Rudy and executive producer Brad Ward and any friend that will actually listen, or watch whatever I have for them. So yeah, it's absolutely key. Are you hard on yourself though when it comes to deciding is this edit correct or is this the script right?
Yeah, I think I could probably be harder on myself. I just it's what I love about what you do is I want to watch everything. I want to watch the plane taxi slowly across the airfield. I want to watch the full takeoff. Unfortunately, with what I do though, that much unedited content doesn't really work. So I have to make faster cuts.
Right.
I have to make 4 seconds is too long on a shot. It has to be like 3 or 2 seconds on a shot. And, so I have to sort of compromise what I want to watch for what, to use your term, the algorithm beast really wants.
Right. I mean, what do you see the future at YouTube? I mean, do you think this is the future, what we do, in terms of content? You think this is for the long term?
I think you're in the right place, man. I think live streaming is bang on. I mean, it really is. I think it's just so. I think it's so exciting, and it's so real world. And right now, I think there's a lot of focus on short form content with, you got Instagram Reels, you got YouTube Shorts, you got TikTok. And I think it's really easy to think, okay, what we're doing now is the way it's always going to be, and I like it, and so I don't really want to face change. So with that caveat that I'm probably coming at it with that bias, I think long form video is something really dynamic, and the ability to form a connection with a creator and to make to feel like you're part of that experience is for the long run. I mean, there were Greek playwrights, thousands of years ago, right? I mean, I think that sort of connection should hopefully stay around.
Well, now I'm curious to ask, are you able to interact with your viewers maybe when you're out traveling, or is it pretty much through comments and maybe messages that you receive through YouTube?
Both. I love being in the comments and hearing the feedback, good, bad, and different. I love it all. And certainly when people come up and say hello, I get some really good feedback from them that way. But yeah, whatever input I can get is great.
How soon until you can live stream inside the cabin of a airplane? You see that coming? I mean, I guess you could do it maybe in a train, right?
Yeah, you certainly could. It's possible. I one of the reasons I wanted to meet you is just to learn more about live streaming.
Untapped market right there. Live streaming.
I've done a couple. I've done a couple from my desk, with like key events and that kind of thing. It is a lot of fun to connect with people in the moment. It's so fulfilling.
Oh, totally.
Well, I don't know. It's Untapped. Jeb Brooks, first live streamer up in the A350 cabin as he travels the world. Can you imagine?
And the passengers all around me would so appreciate it.
Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? Oh, yes. You kind of get that nasty look. So the future's bright for you. You're going to be traveling the world here in the next couple of months. Tell us about some of your upcoming trips.
Oh gosh, we've got a lot coming up. Obviously, things can always be subject to change, but we should be in spending a little time in out here in California the next few weeks, or week or so. Then we'll be up in Canada. Then headed to New Zealand and Australia in November. December headed to Africa.
Oh, wow.
And hoping that there'll be a little bit of Antarctica in there as well.
Ooh.
With some interesting aviation. I'm going to leave you hanging there, but some really cool stuff there. And
how far out do you plan all this stuff? You have your whole year planned out?
No, I would say we're probably usually planned out about 60 days.
Oh, that's okay.
But then there are these bigger chunks. So, we tend to plan bigger trips around like the end of the year. So, I think it's about 60 days out.
Okay.
Do you ever plan like impromptu trips? Like all of a sudden we're going to go somewhere tomorrow? Or...
Yeah, absolutely. That Atlantic City to Myrtle Beach thing, we had this whole weekend that was free, and we needed to find 2 weeks of content, and that's exactly what happens.
Oh, what about maybe an airline you haven't flown before? Is that coming up? Possibly.
Well, Air New Zealand. I'm excited about that. I've never flown Air New Zealand. I really want to. Oh gosh, what else? I want to fly LOT.
Oh, okay.
I really want to fly LOT.
Yeah, we like LOT a lot.
I saw it here, and I liked it a lot.
Yes.
Oh yes.
I mean, there's not. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, you basically have flown. I mean, how many different airlines do you think you've flown in the years?
Gosh, I need to check my Flight Radar 24 profile. I don't know, but but I'll fly anybody,
anywhere.
By the way, have you started utilizing the new bookmark feature on Flight Radar 24?
I have not.
Oh, check that out.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, you can bookmark. I believe it's certain registrations, certain flight numbers. So you can keep track of maybe a plane or a flight that you've flown on recently, and for fun, track it later.
Are you a plane spotter? Or are you just an av geek?
I'm a plane spotter. I'm both. What is the technical difference between the two?
As we're sitting here, do you want to grab your camera and document all the planes as they fly over? Or are you just kind of like, oh, that's really nice? I mean, I think there's certain levels, right?
No, I think that if we were to look at my iPhone and type in airplane in the photo search feature, I think I would qualify as plane spotter. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
I embrace that.
Excellent. So anybody is watching or listening, they're not watching, listening today, where can they find your content?
Yeah, the easiest way is just to head over to YouTube and type in my name, Jeb Brooks, and I should come up. But you can also check me out at greenergrass.com. That's sort of our hub of everything.
Talk about that real quick. How did you come up with greenergrass.com?
Okay, so
something about the grass is always greener, right?
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
It was actually when I was working consulting, I was given a project, and it doesn't matter what the project was, but I came up with this great brand name for it. We're going to call it Greener Grass. And so I went into my boss. I bought the domain name greenergrass.com, convinced he was going to love it, and he did not at all. So I had it, and then in 2012, I took my first trip around the world. I did a round the world trip, and I wanted to remember it. So I took greenergrass.com, turned it into a blog about that trip.
Okay.
And then when I started making YouTube videos, I realized I needed to introduce myself And so I said, I'm Jeb Brooks from greenergrass.com, and it is stuck.
Oh.
Wow. There
So
you go.
it was kind of an accident.
100% an accident.
I like
So
the name.
cool.
I like
Yeah.
the name.
Thank you. I think it's kind of fun.
Speaking of it, we're sitting on greener grass.
Oh, yes.
Some green grass right here outside the In-N-Out Burger.
Greenergrass.com approved green grass.
Yes.
I also wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind sharing with us maybe some of the equipment that you use to film your videos.
This is a great question, and also one of the most complicated aspects of this. It's you're traveling, and there's just so much equipment that's required. So that seemed kind of stressful to me. So I just use my iPhone.
Perfect.
Really?
Yeah, I just use my
Everything
iPhone.
is on the iPhone.
Everything's on the iPhone.
How do you have that much space on your iPhone?
I got the one that had the most space, and then I delete the videos as soon as I publish a video. I delete the videos.
Wow, that's amazing. What iPhone do you have? Everyone wants to know what kind of iPhone this is.
Is it the 13?
13.
Oh,
Is
wow.
that right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Sounds good.
And what's nice about it is look, we joke about this, but I think that what I'm doing is fun, right? When I'm traveling. But not everybody who's on an airplane is there for a fun, happy reason. There's sometimes people are traveling for sad reasons, and
Right.
I think that I try to be kind of not very public about what I'm doing, not in a surreptitious way, but just not to distract other people. I think if I had a big camera, it would just be distracting.
Right.
So it's nice to use the iPhone and be a little more subtle about what I'm doing.
I'm so jealous of you that you can do everything on the iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, I looking at all of this equipment, I can understand.
You know how many bags are going to be checking in for the trip to Dallas? Oh, my
yeah.
gosh. I don't even want to think of it. Jeb, I'm so jealous. Jeb, this has been absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for coming on to the Plane Jockeys podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I enjoy everything you guys do, and it has been such a treat to get to spend time with you, get to know you, and really develop a friendship.
Yes, absolutely. This was such a treat for me as well. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, Jeb, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Make sure to go to jebbrooks.com to find everything in one spot right there, right?
That'll do it.
All right. Rudy, thank you so much for joining me outside the In-N-Out Burger.
Thanks again for having me.
This is always so much fun. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Plane Jockeys podcast. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Well, folks, we finally made it. That's good, because the first officer and I have talked so much, I feel like I know him better than my brother.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Plane Jockeys podcast, a companion to Airline Videos Live.
Goodbye.
Find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Airline Videos, or visit airlinevideos.com. On behalf of the entire crew, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again on the next Plane Jockeys podcast.
Bye-bye.